Somewhere right now, a person has been on hold for 47 minutes trying to cancel a subscription they forgot they had. That wait is not an accident. It has a name. Legal scholar Cass Sunstein calls it sludge, friction deliberately embedded into a process to exhaust you before you finish it. Sludge is not inefficiency. It's a cost transfer mechanism. Every minute you spend navigating a phone tree is a minute the company doesn't pay a human being to help you. The 2020 National Customer Rage Study confirmed what most people already suspected. Customer service quality has declined to its worst recorded levels. That study has been running since 1976, commissioned originally by the White House. In 1976, the White House asked researchers to measure how Americans felt about the products and services they bought. The premise: an informed government needed to understand consumer frustration. Reasonable enough. Here's where it gets strange. Despite the documented decline in service quality, aggregate customer satisfaction scores haven't dropped over the long term. On paper, customers are merely as satisfied as ever. Fewer complaints don't mean happier customers. They often mean customers who've given up, who hit the sludge wall, abandoned the process, and never reported the problem at all. Researchers have a term for the broader system this creates: the annoyance economy. Companies extract value not by serving customers well, but by making it too costly for customers to leave or complain. The annoyance economy runs on a specific fuel: corporate concentration. When a market has 2 or 3 dominant players, the incentive to invest in better service collapses. Where exactly would you go instead? Follow the incentive. If switching costs are high and alternatives are scarce, a company can degrade service quality and most customers will absorb the friction rather than leave. That's not negligence. Now, consider this. 73% of customers expect businesses to understand and meet their unique needs. They know the data isn't hidden, and yet service quality continues its documented decline. Both things are true simultaneously. The gap between knowing and acting is itself a feature of the system. Acknowledging rising expectations costs nothing. Meeting them costs a great deal. A survey response and a staffed call center don't share a budget line. Sludge isn't random. In 2022, the Federal Trade Commission published a report called Bringing Dark Patterns to Light, documenting how companies engineer friction at precisely the moments that cost them money. Cancellations, refund requests, opt-outs, while stripping friction from purchases. The FTC's report cataloged these techniques across dozens of industries. The same design logic that simplifies buying deliberately complicates leaving. Technically, both buttons exist. Return to that 47-minute hold. The phone tree is a masterpiece of applied sludge. Each menu layer is a calculated bet that some percentage of callers will hang up before reaching a resolution that costs the company money. If 10,000 customers call to request a refund and 30% abandon the hold queue, that's 3,000 refunds the company never processes. At $20 each, that's $60,000 recovered through inconvenience alone. Here's the harder part. The system works precisely because it doesn't feel like policy. It feels like a bad day. You blame yourself for not having the account number ready. You don't blame the design. Sunstein's analysis emphasizes this psychological dimension. Friction doesn't just slow people down, it shifts blame. A sufficiently complex process makes the customer feel responsible for their own failure to complete it. Sunstein documented this beyond the private sector. His 2019 paper in the Journal of Legal Studies examined SNAP benefit enrollment and found that paperwork requirements caused eligible households to forego benefits entirely, not by choice, but because the process outlasted their capacity to complete it. A reasonable objection arrives here. Companies often argue that verification steps, waiting periods, and multi-stage processes protect customers from fraud. Sometimes that's true. The question is whether the friction is proportionate. The test is proportionality. Two-factor login for a bank account is friction that protects you. A 6-week mailed confirmation to cancel a gym membership protects the gym's revenue. The design tells you whose interests the friction serves. The gym membership isn't hypothetical. The FTC's 2022 report cited subscription services requiring customers to call during specific business hours, navigate multiple confirmation screens, and wait for mailed paperwork before cancellation is processed. Small businesses, unable to absorb reputational damage the way large ones can, often invest in accessible service as a competitive differentiator. Services like Ruby Receptionists, which routes small business calls to live agents, exist specifically because a missed call at a local firm can mean a lost client. A small business with 3 competitors within walking distance can't survive on the annoyance economy model. The switching cost is 0. One bad call, and the customer is at the shop next door before lunch. Back to that paradox. Stable satisfaction scores alongside declining service. One explanation: customers recalibrate expectations downward. When every company is bad, bad becomes the baseline. You can't be disappointed by what you no longer expect. This is how the annoyance economy becomes self-reinforcing. Lower service quality lowers expectations. Lower expectations reduce complaint rates. Lower complaint rates get logged internally as customer satisfaction. The cycle closes cleanly. The FTC's Dark Patterns report represents one institutional response, but documentation and enforcement are separate things. By 2023, the FTC had issued civil investigative demands to several subscription companies under the report's findings, yet no major penalty had been finalized, illustrating exactly how wide that gap can run. Follow the incentive to its conclusion. Companies don't design bad customer service because they dislike customers. They design it because the cost of sludge is lower than the cost of service, and the market doesn't currently punish them for it. Consider Amazon's cancellation flow. Before a 2023 FTC lawsuit forced a redesign, Prime members had to navigate a process the agency called Iliad, named after the epic for its length. Amazon's own data showed the flow suppressed cancellations measurably. Sludge with a project name. Practically speaking, when a cancellation process is harder than a sign-up process, that asymmetry is the product. Recognizing sludge as design rather than accident changes how you allocate your time and your complaints. At the system level, service quality is a market structure outcome. Where competition is real, service tends to improve. Where concentration dominates, sludge accumulates. The incentive does the rest, and eventually, so does the regulator. Somewhere, that hold timer is still running, 47 minutes and counting, a perfectly reasonable system, working exactly as designed. Audit complete. This audit is complete. The findings, as always, may be ignored.